Hey everybody, I think I'm live now. How are you doing this morning? Welcome to Awoken TV. Welcome to Therapeutic Wisdom from the AKASH. My name's Laura Nat Mazzotta, and I am live here every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern to talk about perspectives from the Akashic Records on standard mental health issues that present in our day-to-day lives here on Earth. And it's beautiful that we have the opportunity to bring forward wisdom from divine intelligence to be able to inform us when we're struggling with our standard human, right? Today we're going to be talking about paranoia. So if there's anybody that you know that can benefit from listening to this information, some support, some wisdom, some guidance regarding paranoia or recovering from paranoia, please share this with them. I'm going to take a moment to share this out myself. If you guys have not been to Awoken TV before, I really encourage you to take a peek at www.awoken.tv. You can also find it on the App Store. And this is really a community of conscious filmmakers and light workers who are coming together to offer courses and videos just like this one and films to educate people about your journey with spirituality. It's like a spiritual and metaphysical Netflix. So I really encourage you to check that out for sure. And like I said, share this out to anybody that you think might be benefiting from this. So who am I? So what is an Akashic therapist? I've been a therapist for almost 20 years now. And I got really sick about 4 years ago with sepsis and started looking into alternative modes of healing. And in my search and in my experience, I was able to find the Akashic Records, which absolutely blew me away with the level of healing and progress that I was able to make in this space. And it got to the point where I did not feel comfortable anymore not sharing this with people, not sharing this with clients, etc., because I felt like I know that this is the most efficient and effective form of healing. And it felt like I was not being responsible to not share that with them. So now I'm here to share the Akashic Records with as many people who are open to receiving and listening from this space. Please say hello if you're jumping on. I will not see comments live if you are not on the Awoken TV page. So if you guys are watching from Emerge Healing and Wellness, or if you're watching from the Akashic Academy, I encourage you to jump over to Awoken TV if you want me to answer your questions live. Otherwise, I will not see them until afterwards. And of course, you're welcome to tag me in any comments so that I can come back at the end and say hello and thank you for being here, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right, this is my last share out and then we can get started here. So just wave your hand in the comments if you have experienced any level of paranoia. And just so you know, this is not something that feels like it's Confession Friday, okay? Paranoia is actually very common, okay? And hi, Donnie, good to see you. You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. Um, so it's very common and it exists on a spectrum. So it's not something that I want you to be ashamed about, right? It's something that a lot of people experience. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today so that we can normalize this a little bit and help you understand when it is time for you to seek assistance and support. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up. All righty. So let's get started. So, what is paranoia? Paranoia is really suspicion, right? It's having a suspicion and a mistrust of other people and situations around them. So, this can often present as kind of looking over your shoulder all the time and feeling like, oh my gosh, is somebody following me or, is somebody out to get me? But it can also show up as just a lot of anxiety around, I think other people are talking about me, right? Or I think that this person views me poorly. And that's a level of paranoia that shows up in the day-to-day lives of many, many people. In fact, most people I know have gone through that where they are worried about what other people think about them. And really what this is just a projection of your own fears about yourself that you're putting out there to other people, right? And so it's of course important to be able to look within and do some of that work in terms of where do I not feel comfortable with myself? Where do I not feel safe within myself? And spirituality is, I think, the most effective way to be able to find a safe foundation within ourselves and to be able to secure that and have it last for the long term. Okay. So I've been very thirsty lately, so I apologize. I'm going to be drinking lots of water today. But Um, it can prevent as like hypervigilance in PTSD. So paranoia is very common with PTSD. Anybody who's had a trauma history is obviously going to be more jumpy. And really, that is the non-clinical term for hypervigilance, right? Hypervigilance is being on edge, always being on eggshells and feeling like the littlest sound or the littlest look or happening in somebody's life can make you jump and just freak out and feel like, oh my gosh, and have a panic attack or feel like you're going to be unsafe in some way. Okay. So, um, intellectually in PTSD that this is not real. Okay. So, if you're experiencing this hypervigilance, this jumpiness, this paranoia with PTSD because you've had a trauma history, you know that this fear of yours intellectually is not real. Okay. The fear itself, yes, you're feeling it. I'm not denying or dismissing that. But the reasons for it, right? Those are, intellectually that you're safe, okay? But you can't convince your emotional body that you are. And so I did do a video on fight or flight response, which is what kicks in this situation. And I did do a video on PTSD. So you guys can refer back to that for sure. But what it's really about is establishing safety before you do the work. Okay. Anytime you're dealing with PTSD or paranoia, because really how I look at it is that paranoia is just an extremely intense level of anxiety, extremely intense. And anybody who's experienced anxiety in their lives has the ability to develop paranoia because we if you get anxious and you get stuck in that cycle and you allow that to kind of guide and lead you and you get riled up and it keeps building and building and building, you're going to get paranoid. Okay. So it's just really intense anxiety. So, what are the tools and techniques that you use to assist yourself with soothing or calming or redirecting your anxiety? What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put those in place, but at a higher level. And we're going to do an exercise today. I'm going to share some steps as well that you guys can implement for paranoia in particular so that you have a takeaway here. You have something you can implement in your lives. Melinda says she leans toward dissociation. Yes, that's also very common. I did a video on dissociation as well, so you can check back in on that one. But that's also very common with just very extreme anxiety to be dissociated. Okay. But it's also in the spiritual world a very big sign that you're being called to another dimension. And this can happen with paranoia as well. In fact, I do believe that there are entities, spiritual beings, light beings, who are present with people who have very intense and severe levels of paranoia, right? Because they feel like there's this big force that's out to get them, right? And the distortion there is that the force is not out to get them. There's just beings around them or there's energy around them that they don't know what to do with. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to manage it, right? And they get confused about it. And this can happen too if you're hearing voices or if you're feeling a lot of intuitive downloads and it's like, oh, this is a lot at once. It's overstimulation. Okay, so that's going to be one of the suggestions I make to you later is to really, when you're in an intense level of paranoia, to reduce your level of stimulation for a period of time. Okay, so that's something I'll talk about in a minute. All right, so in PTSD, it's very clear that this paranoia is not real. Okay, intellectually. But when we're talking about, say, paranoid delusions, right, or delusional disorder, and people are diagnosed with delusions, okay, this is when you really do believe it's real. Okay, and it's very hard for you to determine, you're not able to determine whether or not you're actually in danger on an intellectual level or whether you're safe, regardless of what your emotions are doing. Okay, so this is where it can be a crossover to what's going on in other dimensions. Because if you really do believe it's real, then to me, that's a sign that you're kind of caught between the dimensions, right? You're kind of bouncing back and forth. It's like, all right, I'm coming up here and I'm hanging out with all these light beings and star beings or whatever it is, and or in the universe, or I'm in this altered state of consciousness. But then I'm also trying to be a 3D human, and it just gets very confusing. And it's also like this feeling like you don't belong here, right? Because your origin is from a different dimension. Okay. So I do believe that that is accurate and then that can come up to impact people who are fully delusional, have paranoid delusions. Okay. So, how does this show up in the spiritual world? It shows up in the spiritual world because people think that there's a lot of negative and evil spirits and entities that are out to get them. My experience of the spirit world and all of the spiritual, high level spiritual mentors and leaders I know would agree that spirits do not come here with evil intentions. Okay. If you are seeing a very scary image, or you are seeing or feeling a very fearful or dangerous entity, that's your own fear coming up that you need to look at. That's your own stories that you're creating around it. I'm not saying that the vision or the illusion that you're seeing is not real, meaning that you're actually seeing it. But I want you to try to turn toward it. Every single one of my clients who has been psychotic or had paranoia or seen things, every single one of them, when I tell them, all right, here we are in session, we're safe here together. I'm here to hold you. I'm here to help you through this. Let's turn towards it. Turn towards that entity, turn towards that being, turn towards that vision. Get curious. Get some information about it. What are you here to do? You look really scary to me. This scares me. Whatever you want to say to them. Okay. Hi, Donna. Hi, Stephanie. Just saw your messages. Thanks for coming on. Turn towards it and get information, because entities, spirits, beings, energies, they come here to share information and to learn as well, but to mostly share information, to connect with our energy, to shift the frequency of the planet. And ultimately, the universe's goal is to shift and heighten the vibration of the planet. So get more information about it, because every time one of my clients does this, the energy automatically softens, right? That negative image goes away, and it's like, oh, pff. Or you just say, hey, this is making me uncomfortable. Could you please walk away? Okay. So it's actually the fear of what's going to happen to me, and what's going to happen if I turn towards this being or this entity or this vision and I actually engage with it. Am I safe? Right? Yes, of course you are. But if you're really severely paranoid, do this with a support person. Do this in a safe space, right? So that you don't feel unstable while you're doing it. And if you feel anxious or if you have emotions coming up, that you have somebody to kind of hold your hand through that. Okay. But it's kind of like exposure work, right? You're exposing yourself to it, but it's not, I mean, it's not even really, because you're already exposed to it. It's already existing in your field. All you're doing is paying attention to it. And it feels like when you pay attention to it, it's going to get bigger and bigger and darker and darker and more evil and more evil. It doesn't work that way. Okay. You're actually introducing the attention and the intention of your energy to this energy field of this being or this vision. And you're allowing your energy to mold and shape and transform this interaction, and to fuel the interaction, and to give it information. So let me know if you guys have questions about that. Okay. I'm just going to check out my notes here. All right. The other thing that I think is really cool is that paranoia often comes up when when we're expanding outside of our comfort zone. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen. You're entering the unknown. This isn't like guaranteed success for you. You don't know exactly what the outcome's going to be. And you start getting paranoid about it. Well, what happens if I fail? Right? That is paranoia. What happens if I fail? You're not going to, what evidence do you have that you're going to fail? And you're not thinking about, what if I soar? Right? What if this is phenomenal and I expand beyond what I even anticipated, and I'm better than ever? Right? We don't consider that part. So, so this level of paranoia is really being afraid of your own power. You're afraid of yourself, right? And this comes up again, just like we were just talking about, when we're thinking other people are talking about us, or when we're thinking that somebody's out to get us. What we're really wanting to do is we are avoiding a part of ourselves that we need to look at, that we need to process, and that we need to work through. Okay. And we're so afraid of facing that part of ourselves that we project it outside of ourselves. And we say, oh my gosh, like this person is out to get me, or this person is talking about me, or this person is bad, or this entity is evil. Well, why don't you allow that to be a mirror for yourself? Look within yourself. Are there any parts of you that feel evil? Are there any parts of you that feel like you're judging yourself? Like you're judging the decisions you make? Like you're not proud of yourself? And it's typically a very deep seated little seed that's in there either from childhood or from ancestors or from past lives, because these kinds of things can be carried forward for sure. And that's the other piece, is what a lot of people don't understand is that particularly if you develop a severe level of paranoia, it's rooted in ancestry or past lives. Because it's very possible that you or you in a past life or your ancestors were persecuted, tortured, followed, talked about, judged, etc., for being completely raw, being completely authentic and completely themselves. And that's what's preventing you from facing this part of yourself that's very hard for you to face. So if you go back and you start to shift some of these energies and you start to get an understanding of what was the context that this unfolded in my past life? What was the context that this unfolded for my ancestors? How can I understand where they were and assist them with healing whatever emotions or fear came up at that time around the situation that they were experiencing, around the relationship that they were experiencing? Okay. I'm just looking at my notes here. Okay. So the other way that this comes up in the spiritual world is a lot of people get very afraid of hanging out in the ether, like hanging out in the Akashic Records, hanging out in the spiritual realms, entering other dimensions. It freaks them out. And I remember when I first started working with the Akashic Records, and for the first few months, every single time I entered that space, I got so much anxiety. I was super anxious. And part of this is because I was in such a physically dense space because I had dis-ease at the time. So I was in such a physically dense space that I had a decent amount of space to climb to get to that higher frequency. But it was also like, what is this going to reveal about myself? What is this going to reveal about me that I have to change or that I need or want to change, but I'm resistant to it. Okay, so it's kind of like really hanging up your truth shingle and saying like, all right, let's see who I am in raw form. But what's so beautiful is that when you're in space with the Akashic Records, you're held so safely and compassionately with such unconditional love. And everything that comes up for you that you consider negative or that you consider, not serving you, there's a reason for it. And the Akashic Records are going to illuminate that for you. And that's what's so beautiful is you get to be held in this space and you get to experience light beings who are really here to illuminate you, to help you to see more clearly who you are and how you can bring your gifts forward in a safe way. Okay. So, oh, yeah. So, this is also about trust, right? Because when you are hanging out in the ether, entering these other dimensions, one of the reasons that you're feeling paranoid or anxious about this is because you don't trust, right? Ultimately, this is about you not trusting yourself, but it's really about surrendering to the universe, right? Like surrendering your vessel to saying, like, I'm willing to allow any universal energies to come through me and to kind of serve as they may and go where the energy is meant to go. It's very, very hard for people with anxiety and a lot of just humans in general who aren't exposed to this work to surrender in full. We're very used to having control. We're very used to having an agenda. And when we're in a place where we feel like we're not in control, especially at the beginning of a spiritual path, when you haven't gotten very used to a lot of practices and modalities that you're comfortable with, it can feel like you're very vulnerable. And that's why I really like the Akashic Records, because it's such a safe space to be able to allow you to be vulnerable at the same time that you're being held. Okay. So, what I would suggest here with the surrendering and with the trust is one, find the place within you or something about you that you do trust. Find something in your world that you do trust. It could be a situation, it could be a location, it could be a person. Okay. And cultivate that. right? Expand that relationship. Spend more time with that person. Spend more time in that location. Spend more time with that situation to put your attention towards what you'd like to cultivate, right? Which is trust. And it could be the tiniest thing. If you're like, oh, I'm so freaking paranoid or I'm so freaking anxious that there's nothing about me that I can find that I can trust. Okay, well, guess what? Can you trust that you know how to go to the bathroom? Can you trust that you know how to brush your teeth? Can you trust that you can feed yourself food when you're hungry? Can you trust that you're going to drink water when you're thirsty? Okay. Very simple things, but I promise you, you can always find something that you can trust yourself for. And it's being able to shift to that and making that your primary focus when you're in a really severe state of paranoia. Okay. All right. So when you go back into these past lives or when you go back into these ancestors' lives and you're connecting with them, this is just another point I wanted to make that I had in my notes. Um, it's important that when you're there and you're trying to get a context for, you know, how this how this paranoia unfolded for you or for this ancestor, it's really important for you to engage in forgiveness work, inner child healing if it's warranted, right? Or any other level of healing at that time to release any energetic cords that are connected to that situation. So when we talk about trauma, and if you guys have watched my PTSD video, you know about this, that when we encode trauma, we encode the memory along with an emotion. Okay. But when we go back in time and we go back into a past life or we go back into ancestral healing into our family line, we have the ability to call up this memory and call up this context and remap the emotion that's tied to it so that we're not as hypervigilant, so that we're not as jumpy. Okay. So it's so beautiful that we have the opportunity to do that. And you can use tapping, you can use forgiveness work, like I said, or inner child work while you're in this space so that you can shift this from the root. And that's what's so efficient about doing this work is the ability to go straight to the root right away. You don't have to wait eons to be able to get to the root. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, I found the root, let's clear it and I'm done in one day. It doesn't work that way all the time because if it did, it would break us as humans because we'd be mind blown, our bodies would be in dis-ease because it's too much of a shift at once if it's that deep. So it will, the records, the spirit source, the universe will assist you with clearing that in layers, okay? Because you need integration time in between to be able to really show that, first of all, you are trusting, you are surrendering and making these changes in your life. Okay, so that it knows that you're actually moving forward and cultivating and nourishing this relationship that you have with your spirit guides or with the universe. Okay. All right. So let me see if there's anything else before I give you guys strategies. Okay. Yeah. Strategy time. Who's ready for strategies? Give me a thumbs up in the comments. Okay. So one of the most helpful things is obviously grounding. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a grounding exercise for you today. But before we get there, I want to give you guys some more tangible grounding exercises as well. So obviously putting your feet on the earth is one of the best ways. I think it's the best way to do it. Another one is you can get grounding mats from Vibes Up or from Amazon, or you can get grounding mats which you can put them under your feet at your desk. You can put them under you while you're sleeping. I have one under my computer to absorb the EMFs. So you can use those. Snacking is a really good way to ground. It's an excellent way to ground. And one of my favorites, which this is wonderful, especially for somebody who's experiencing paranoia, is that get a weighted blanket. How many of you have a weighted blanket? Oh my gosh, it makes me so happy. I got it because of my neurological symptoms after sepsis. And I'll tell you, it is just a special treat every single night. My husband has trouble getting past it to give me a hug, but um, really like getting all cozy and warm, even add like a heating pad or moist heat or something underneath there. Get all snuggled up, even grab a stuffed animal if you want, put a pillow between your knees, really curl up, get it nice and warm and cozy, almost like you're creating a blanket fort for yourself, right? But what you're doing is you're creating safe space. right? You're creating safe space and you're creating this with intention to give yourself an opportunity to rest and to just release in a place where you know nobody's going to come get you, nothing's going to happen to you. You can just curl up right there. Okay. So it's offering yourself that warmth and comfort. Okay. You can even throw a cup of tea in there if you want. Not literally pouring it on you, please. That's dangerous. Okay. The other thing that's helpful, and we'll get back to grounding in a little bit when I guide you guys through a quick exercise. Okay. So, the other way that you can establish safety for yourself when you are experiencing paranoia symptoms is cleansing your body and cleansing your mind. So, what does that look like? So, it means that we're overstimulated. Guys, we live on planet Earth, one of the most stimulating, if not the most stimulating environment that we could live in. Okay. So we are constantly getting infused with stimulation coming our direction. And it is our responsibility to determine how much that impacts us and is impacting our energy field. Okay. So cleansing your mind is all about watching the things that fill your soul, listening to the things that fill your soul. Congratulations. I celebrate all of you for being here today or on the replay because you are filling your soul and your mind with things that are enriching and nourishing and expansive for you. Okay. Listening to podcasts, listening to healing tones, healing music, solfeggio frequencies. If you haven't heard of solfeggio frequencies, I'm going to put them in the comments here and you can look them up. But they are highly healing tones or binaural beats, okay, to assist with rewiring your brain, to establish that sense of safety, to release some of that fear and guilt. And you can do it all day, every day, like as you're working or as you're cleaning up or as you're cooking dinner. You can put these tones on and just know that you are intentionally rewiring and entering a new frequency into your system. Okay. And I promise you, as you do this consistently, especially for a minimum of 21 days, because that's how long it takes to create a habit and instill it, your frequency will start to align with that new frequency that you're inputting into your system. We are a system. Okay. So we need to put input in that's going to help with our output. Okay, so this includes food, cleansing your body. And it also includes exercise, right? Viewing your body as a temple, as this vessel that's carrying our soul through this lifetime, allowing us to feel, allowing us to connect, allowing us to collaborate together and raise our frequency collectively. Okay, so choosing foods from planet Earth that have a very high vibration, getting comfortable and familiar with the vibration of foods that we're putting into our bodies so that we can align ourselves with the highest vibration possible because dis-ease in mental, emotional, or physical form does not exist at a high frequency. Okay, so that's one way, cleansing your body and your mind. Another thing is, and we talked about this as well already, but I'll just touch on it briefly, is finding at least one safe space or relationship, right? So we talked about that. So being able to really, and this could be spiritual, that's the part I wanted to add in, is that this safe space or relationship could be your relationship with God. It could be your relationship with your higher self. It could be your relationship with the universe or the Akashic Records. Okay. So it doesn't have to be in human form. Like for me, my biggest space of safety where I feel the most safe is the Akashic Records. And I have a very safe life. My house is very safe. My relationship with my husband is very safe. But the space of the Akashic Records is just infinite levels of safety at a level that we can't even access on the earth plane. Okay. We talked about reducing stimulation. Okay. So that could mean that, like for me, when I reduce stimulation, I will either put in my earbuds and listen to usually sound bowls because I love listening to sound bowls and they just resonate like they're literally massaging my brain. That's what it feels like. I'll put those in and I'll close my eyes and I'll sit in front of a fire or I'll sit in my room or I'll sit in next to my crystals or crystal grid or something. And I just close my door and allow myself to be in stillness, knowing that I'm safe and not allowing myself access to anything else, to messages on my phone. I silence my phone except for the music that's coming through, right? And I don't allow anyone access to me. This can be really positive if you're an Epsom salt bath taker, and I encourage you to do so because it's a great way to release toxins. It's a great way to cleanse your body, to allow yourself to get to that state of deep rest. And that's one of the things. People with paranoia, they very, very seldom experience deep, deep rest. And we need deep rest. Every single one of us as humans. It's not okay to just say, I'm going to put my feet up for a few minutes. It's not okay to just say, I took a day off. Great. I celebrate you. That's awesome progress. But with the level of stimulation that we have coming for us, if you're experiencing super, super intense anxiety, and this message is also for people who do have high anxiety as a preventive tool, right? So that you do not get to the state of having it be so high that you are feeling that level of paranoia. Okay. So to assist yourself with that. And if the paranoia continues to be persistent, look at your past lives, look at your ancestral healing, and realize that you may be called to another dimension. You're being called to maybe your spiritual home, right? Which could be the Akashic Records. It could be going through astral travel and connecting with the star system. Okay. And it's so funny because so many of my clients have said when they enter the Akashic Records, I feel like I'm home. I feel like I found my family. I feel a sense of belonging, because your soul recognizes that. It recognizes its origin point. Okay. All right, I only have a couple more things here to add, and then we'll do a quick grounding exercise. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say is after you reduce your stimulation, you then want to start an exposure practice with a safe support person along with you if you do have a significant level of paranoia. So you've reduced your stimulation, you've found your safety, your frequency is heightening, you're feeling better. So once you're able to do that and maintain it for a period of time, you then start to bring more in stimulation into your life little by little. And like I said, have somebody with you or have a safe space to kind of reconnect to so that you feel okay with doing this. But what you're going to do is you're going to add in a little stimulation. You're going to feel a little bit of an agitation within your system. Give yourself time to return to that place of safety. It could be that you go back and put your earbuds in and sit there next to your crystals and chill out, right? It could be that you need to do vigorous exercise first to be able to get into that still space. Okay, but then you give yourself integration time. Allow this to integrate into your system and integrate into your energy field. And then you can add the next layer, a little bit more stimulation. Okay, so being gentle with yourself, not just flooding yourself with, oh, I typically stay home all day and, reduce my stimulation, but then I'm going to go to a concert with thousands of people, which I don't even know that that's happening right now anyway with COVID. But despite that, COVID will not be here forever. Okay, so the last thing that I will say is after you have increased your stimulation little by little, and you've been successful with this practice, you're then at a place where you can imagine yourself. You can do something we call imaginal exposure, where you imagine yourself at a concert with a large group of people, and you imagine yourself being very successful, being very at ease, being very you, and not having it bother you. And after you go through this visualization over and over again, and you really get detailed about it, visualize yourself at this concert, visualize yourself with all the noise, picking up on the tones, picking up on the people on stage, all the people around you, what they're wearing, what it smells like, what you're eating or drinking, right? Get really specific about this visualization and allow yourself to either call in safety practices at that time to implement safety practices while you're doing this imaginal exposure, so that what you're doing is your subconscious mind does not know the difference between that visualization and reality. So when you are sitting there and you're envisioning this and you're unfolding it and it's unfolding, you are creating a new connection between this experience, this situation, and the emotion that's tied to it, right? So you're rewiring right there. Okay? And that will increase your chances of success and make you less vulnerable when you kind of enter the world and decide to step out a little bit. Okay? All right. So I'm going to just do a quick grounding meditation here for us to allow us to feel stabilized and rooted and grounded before we start our day, before we start our weekend. and allowing yourself to tap into even the tiniest feeling of ease, right? Because that's what we want to cultivate is a deep feeling of rest. And you're not necessarily going to get to deep rest in this meditation, but if you sit in it long enough or if you put this on and then you pause it and continue music or something, then you are going to allow yourself to receive more of these high frequency energies from the universe, and you will your system will start to ease. Okay. All right, so everybody close your eyes and take a deep breath in, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Another deep breath in all the way to the base of your spine and pause at the top. Breathing in a little bit more to fill to your fullest capacity and breathe out very slowly. It's very important to make your exhale longer than your inhale. Another deep breath in, expanding your heart space in the front and the back. And on your very slow exhale, I want you to pause at the bottom of your exhale. And just hold it there for as long as you're comfortable, and then allow yourself to continue breathing slowly and deeply at a pace that's comfortable for you. I'm just going to send you guys some Reiki while we do this visualization. And I just want you to allow yourself to rest in the space in which you're sitting. Allow your physical body to release any efforts or tension that it's using to hold yourself in this space. Allow your legs to start to feel really heavy, like heavy lead pipes, just being supported by the space in which you're sitting. Allow your pelvis and your hips to relax, almost picturing you have this really loose range of motion if you were to move your legs. Allowing your abdomen to relax, releasing any tension you might be holding there. Allowing your chest to relax, making sure that your shoulders are back and down, really opening up that heart space. Allow your arms to feel heavy, like heavy lead pipes, just like your legs, sinking into the space where you're sitting. Allowing your neck to relax, releasing all tension from the day. Releasing your jaw joint so you're not clenching. Allowing your tongue to lay gently in the bottom of your mouth. Releasing any tension from your cheeks and your forehead, really making sure your forehead is smooth. Just allow yourself to be held here for a moment. And I want you to imagine that you are laying in a hammock that's created by the root system of Mother Earth. The root system of the earth is such a strong, stabilizing, foundational, and structured support for us. Imagine all of these roots that are under the surface of the earth, creating a formation of a hammock. And they're nice and soft. You're just being held here, your skin absorbing all of the medicinal healing benefits of this space, all of the brilliant divine technology that exists within Mother Earth to fuel and heal our system. Allow it to absorb through your skin and be infiltrated, or I guess internalized is a better word, into our cells, into our organs, into each and every system of the body, fueling and nourishing you, and reminding you that this is always available to you. You can access this space, you can access this energy and this healing at any time. Anytime you wish or need to be held, you can come here and allow yourself to be supported, allowing Mary Magdalene to come down from the Akash. You can feel her warmth and her expansive heart space coming toward you and moving some of the hair off of your forehead, stroking your cheeks, holding you if you'd like, placing a very warm hand on yours, just bringing forward all of that unconditional love that she's so eager to share with you. You can embrace her if you'd like. Allow yourself to get up from this hammocked root space. Bringing yourself to standing, moving back to the space in which you're currently sitting. Taking a deep breath here to integrate this shift. Reminding yourself that you're carrying all of these energies from Mother Earth throughout your day today, throughout your weekend. That the memory, this energetic blueprint, is now stored within your body, within your nervous system. You can allow it to continually fuel you little by little over the course of the next few days. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, place your hands on your legs, hands on the space in which you're sitting, reminding yourself that you're present, that you're safe, that you're in this physical body. And that anytime you need or want to return to this feeling of safety, you can simply put your hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly and just take a few deep breaths in, reminding yourself to return to this energetic blueprint that we instilled today. Just let me know how you guys are feeling. Thank you for being part of this today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this out for anyone who needs to hear or listen or receive these energies today. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll be here next Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and I will post on Thursday night what the Akashic Records would like to bring forward to share with you. If you'd like to connect further to learn more about deep levels of healing, deep levels of expansion, there's a link in the introduction to this video where we can connect on a free call and allow the wisdom of the Akashic Records to really guide you in what the best next steps are for you on your journey. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.